Good evening. You are listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you, as always, from the Xtreme Studios in the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have with me from the great Midwest, RDV. And tonight's movie is Extreme Prejudice, a Walter Hill film, which is important to note. And we're going to be talking about this awesome 80s action film that a lot of people don't. RDV, it's good to see you again.
It's good. Well, I would say the same to you, but you're never on camera.
Well, Rachel Ward is, and that's all that matters. And speaking of Rachel Ward and Extreme Prejudice, we had a fun time talking about, of course, Sharky's Machine with Burt Reynolds the other night. And tonight, on our typical Tuesday night action fare, we went back to our bread and butter here on the Extreme Movie Show, 80s based action, as we like to say. And you and I have talked a little bit about Walter Hill in general, but it's been very uneven. We just find that we really like his films. And this movie has Nick Nolte as a Texas Ranger and about every fucking badass from the 1980s that's not Schwarzenegger or Stallone is in it. It's a solid movie, and this is the film that is a throwback Western. It's incredible. I liked it a lot. I want to know, was this a first watch for you? And if so,
Well,
or if not, what's your first
well,
take on it?
first of all, I want to point out this is only my second Walter Hill movie. My first one was Streets of Fire.
Yes.
So I had a bittersweet taste in my mouth, and I was like, "Oh, it's Walter Hill. This could be bad, or it could be just tremendously good." And I gotta say, man, Walter Hill is able to pull in some really big celebrities for his movies. At least so far,
Some
that I've
of them
seen.
weren't that big at the time, like Clancy
No,
Brown is in
no.
this. A bunch of people.
Clancy Brown. I'm trying to think what the other you had. Michael Ironside, and I was right.
Love Michael Ironside.
Yeah,
Jesus, he's such a great
yeah.
heavy. William Forsythe.
Yes. The earliest Michael Ironside movie I've ever seen was Total Recall. Seeing him in this was kind of cool. Yeah. William Forsythe, Powers Booth, Nick Nolte, who I was talking to behind the scenes. If they reboot this, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's no doubt about it. The way he talks, the way he reacts in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit, woman. I'm sick of the talk.
This is a man film.
And I love it. Just him just going, what to her every single freaking time she tries to speak. It's tale of two best friends. One decided to be a ranger. The one decided to go into the coke business in Mexico and become a drug lord. And they both, dated the same girl. Nick Nolte is now dating the girl that used to date, Powers Booth. Powers Booth, man, is always an impressive, especially in this movie. We first came across him in Southern Comfort. We reviewed him here last year on the channel.
Did you know that Southern Comfort is a Walter Hill film?
Is it really? So then
yes, it is.
This is good. So then, okay, then that's I did not know that. So that makes this my third Walter Hill film. And they're all different though, because like I said, they don't really feel like They don't. You could say he has a style, but honestly, they all feel different. I mean, without telling me it's Walter Hill, they don't really. I wouldn't know. They're going to go. But getting back to my point, this is a first watch for me. What really drew me was Michael Ironside's in this, and I have seen a few movies with Michael Ironside. One of them, except it brought up Total Recall. The last one I think I saw him with anything was Terminator Salvation. So I've seen him in a few movies, but not a lot. But you got Powers Booth, you got Nick Nolte, who doesn't even feel like Nick Nolte in this movie whatsoever.
He's great.
It's Nick Nolte, 48 Hours, or if you want more recently, A Walk in the Woods.
Or he played in an episode of that Peacock show that's the Columbo ripoff. I forget the name of it with the blonde chick in there, and that's a phenomenal episode. He does great in there. Let me ask you, did you know 48 Hours is a Walter Hill film?
I'm done. I'm not. Goodbye.
Look, when I say this is a movie,
Wow.
You mentioned something there about Walter Hill, which is really important, but to bring up as we get ready to dive into this a bit, is that it's more of a style that you're watching for. You can argue that John Carpenter has a style, or you're watching a such and such kind of film, you know what you're going to get. So the plot's not necessarily central to everything, but you're dealing with human beings and stuff, and it sounds pretty basic here, very mid in a way, if you want, right? Two childhood friends, they're flip sides of the same coin, basically. Supposedly one's good, one's bad, whatever. And every guy in here is very magnetic. There's no pissing contest between them, but you know that these two guys are going to meet, and the way Powers Booth
Well, yeah.
does it, it's very admirable in a way, rather than just being a thug. And the thing with this film is that there is so much fucking good dialogue of men talking to each other
Oh,
like
definitely.
men the way they do. This is the type of movie I wish a woman would say,
Ye-
you know, because honestly, the problem with this movie is the woman was playing both sides, and she butts her nose in, and she leaves for she
Oh,
leaves Nick Nolte to go back
I
to the dude, which is a big thing here at the end.
yeah.
And it's like, if you just understand what the hell is going on here, guys do talk, but they don't want to talk to women. They talk to each other. That's exactly what's happening, especially with the zombie crew, with Forsythe and everybody. There's
Yeah,
so many great
yes.
lines in here. It's phenomenal.
The whole woman thing is like, she's like, give me 2 years, what's our end goal? It's like, well, he's like, yeah, 2 years of you trying to talk to me about my buddy, how you used to date him. What the fuck's wrong with you, bitch? Seriously. I instantly hated her. Like I said, she opened her mouth and like, oh, did he say? Because he said, like, I heard you met Cash or Bailey today or Cash today. Did he talk about me? What the hell? Right there, that's a red flag.
Yes.
I'm kicking you to the curb. Especially know that Leland, you used to date him. Why does it matter?
Well,
If you're
because she's at that age where she's got to settle down, and hey, what have you done for me lately? What are you going to do? You're a Texas Ranger. You're a noble guy. You're great. You don't make that much money, and here's a guy that's got resources that
yeah,
I used to like too. So maybe it's better for me and me going forward. If if you're not going to wife me up, maybe I'll go to this guy.
well,
And you know what? And I'm not defending her position.
no, but she's playing the head game shit.
Exactly.
Exactly,
A
and I
typical
would
woman.
I no, not typical, but it is a type of woman. I can't say all, but I just say because men and women both do play head games. Not so
They
much,
do
but
it differently. She was
yeah,
being a
differently.
woman. She's wanting to see
Yes,
what future she has with
but
him, and he's not talking to her, so he won't open up
yeah,
emotionally. She has to see through his action at the end of the film whether or not he's
he's.
worth staying with, and we don't have an answer to that technically.
I'm trying to think of it. There's another movie watch where the guy where he's same character. He's hostage. Oh, that's okay. Justified. Where she says you're the angriest man I've ever known. His ex-wife says to him. Is this his character's supposed to be? He's always getting the gunfights and stuff, kicking ass. And I was like, wow. So anyway, so yeah, I just right there. I was like, this. The fact that she even asked is like, and he said nothing. It was she wouldn't drop it. Like she has to know. Like she has that much of an ego problem. Or if she's trying to rile him up, like, well, fight for me, otherwise I'll go to him. It's like you're not winning either way. You're just gonna make him kick you to the curb and find someone who actually doesn't,
Yep.
chastise him. And then she's also like, oh, I heard you were roughed up so and so. It's like, it's none of your business. At first of all, it's please, she's just, it's like you're upset because he's a white guy and you think it's racist because he's going against guys, rest of people who are not of same color or whatever. Who cares? He's not it's not dishonorable man. The way she tries to make him appear sound like, it's
She just came across as desperate to me.
yeah, she came as it's just as a bitch. It's like at that point, like going in there to get cash is one thing, and he's like, because apparently she does leave with with cash back over the border, and then he goes in there with the zombie crew led by Michael Ironside, who his Ed brings up was the voice of Darkseid in the Justice League cartoons.
Oh,
Awesome.
I don't know. Was he? I
He
don't.
was. He was. He
Nice.
watched the Justice League cartoons in the late 90s, 2000s. He was. Or they had Darkseid. It was like Michael Ironside. I was like, holy shit. He's got that awesome voice.
He does.
Yeah. Whenever he's in, whether it's Total Rico or this, and I just love it. He's got that commanding voice, and like you're just like, I love, and I just see Michael Ironside here posing as a DA agent going around. He's like, they follow the cop. It's like, there's a Texas Ranger. Let's see if he's going to be a problem for us. Let's see what does. Like the scene there, and we haven't mentioned one actor who was shockingly, I've never seen him without facial hair. That's Rip Torn. Rip Torn was in there, plays the older deputy.
He did a good job.
Yeah, agent here, and
his father figure, basically.
Basic father figure to both guys actually. If I recall, he was the old sheriff, back when Nick Nolte's character was young. But anyway, they get a call. Originally, how the movie opens up, there's a bar. It's raining. They got the ponchos on, and they're walking into the room. It's a crowded bar, and like, I'm looking for so and so. He's like, You speak no English. How do you know Espanol? It's like bullshit. And then he starts slowly walking. You see the camera of his pants. Everybody starts spreading out. I love that. And then they get to the fat fuck who's just sitting behind the chair. He's a woman. He's like, and I love how they both got their shotguns. He's just walking with his rifle. The other guy comes in behind him with a shotgun, Rip Torn, and he just like throws the handcuffs. He's like, put them on. They're just your size. We're going. And he's like, hell no. And they get a shoot. He just blows them away. And then he's like, and then they think they're gonna pull on him. Rip Torn comes in behind, fires one round in the ceiling. And he's like, yeah, we're not playing that shit. I just love that whole atmosphere like that. And then they, so then because the guy's brother wants revenge, so it leads him into a trap. They're called down to this bar, being held up by these guys, who's a brother of, I guess his name's Chubb. And it just gets a whole Wild West shootout. Rip Torn gets blown away. I was like, and it's just like, and meanwhile, Michael Ironside and Clancy Brown are just sitting in the back, just watching with binoculars, like, holy shit, just seeing him just going, it's, if you ever played any of the Western games or any game where you're by yourself and you got to take out like 50 guys, that's what it felt like. And he's just got his shotgun, runs out of bullets. He's darting from truck to truck as he's being fired at. And he's just picking up one guy and up. It's just, I just love the whole shootout scene. It's just the fact that they had Michael Ironside character, because he was like, he didn't know what he was. He's a villain, going into this blind. So him watching the other guy, and they're like, oh shit, this guy actually is badass. They're confirming what we already know. What we're seeing is that even those guys are like, they're reconfirming it to us. So I kind of like that kind of storytelling. But
yeah, and it really, I think the movie, I mean, the setup's basically Powers Boothe again is a drug lord, and he's depositing money across the border in a bank, and so you've got the zombie unit that's looking to allegedly like rob the bank because they're trying to get documents and cash from him, and we don't know if they're necessarily on the up and up or whatever. They just seem to all have this mission, but they don't seem like they're completely faultless killers. And what's interesting with the zombie unit just being a third party to stir things up is you see them as they go on, not go ape shit and gaga, but they end up getting a grudging kind of respect about the Ranger with what he does, because he's got a set of balls on him. He's not stupid, and he's a principled guy. And so at the end, before we have the big shootout, and then the shootout is different than the shootout I'm going to reference, but you get them basically, when they're prepping for the shootout, and then you get Michael Ironside's character basically telling him, hey, I promised you 30 minutes alone with cash, basically to kill him, beat him up, whatever like that, but then he's mine. And then when Nolte leaves, and they're like, man, he's got some balls. He's just going to walk up there, and he's like, yeah, we used to be friends. And then you get Forsythe basically saying, wait a minute, we're not going to take him out. He's a good guy. And, and Clancy Brown's like, hey, it's kind of funny how you want to whack a good American civilian who's trying to bring a bad dude to justice, or a Ranger. And you could tell that they almost want to turn him, but they don't. And Ironside plays it so well at the end until he kind of slips there at the end, that Forsythe walks in the bar and just has a drink next to the Ranger and just says, hey, when things get going, like he's giving him a heads up. And you're like, we've seen all this before, but it's so goddamn cool the way it plays out. There's no surprises here. Like
I said, after they watched Michael, like I said, watched him handle the guys at the shootout stuff, he survives. They decided they're gonna rob this bank. They go in there, he talks to the manager and stuff, and you're like so basically just getting a feeling. Two other guys purposely get arrested, get in a fight, at this thing, punch each other out, calling themselves, using some derogatory names, which is kind of how people talk. I hate that you will not hear any of that language in today's Hollywood, because it's no one should ever use those slurs, even in make believe stuff. No, so anyway, my point is, so those guys get fight, and then they're wired, so they're like saying like, okay, he's got this many rifle shotguns here, and this in the station here.
They're pros.
Yeah, and then they hack the computer, the telephone system, so they can't call out. They blow up this warehouse, and while this storage and it's everybody's the cops going out there. They hit the bank. They're in there, got the pantyhose on. You see his nose all messed up, and like Michael Ironside, he looks so stupid, lips pushed up. I was like, dude, I can tell it's Michael Ironside. Those don't do shit for you. But anyway, so they rob it. Of course, the two guys who blew up the thing, their car gets stuck in the sand. So they jack up and leave. They finally get there, only to be captured by Nick Nolte. Because of this, Michael Einstein is waiting for him at his home, watching, and then tells him like who we are. We're a zombie cat. We're here, we're basically we're here to help you. They take us. Bailey used to be informant for us, but he basically reneged on the deal, made himself basically a drug lord. So now we want to take him down. We're going to go in there. He's like, so Nick Nolte goes back there, relieves the guy. He tells the soldier guarding, he's like, I got this. Takes the guys out. They head to Mexico.
This is cool.
Yeah,
it's like they're teaming up in a way.
Yeah, in a way. But the whole all the way through the entire movie, whenever Michael Einstein would go up to approach him, like he first approached him at the bar. He approached him at the bar too. He's like, "You want a drink?" He's like, "I'm very particular who I drink with." the whole thing. He's like, yeah. And then again on the bus, he's like, "Oh, you want something?" He's like, "No, I'm very particular who I drink with." He just Nick Nolte's like dick to the whole entire time.
Well, what I liked about though him, and we think of Ranger, one of the things we've talked about with the themes of movies in the '80s, generally speaking, I say basically you point to T.J. Hooker where cop cars explode, and we make fun of cops being buffoons and all that too, and it hasn't really got any better. I still think there's a bit of a reverence for Texas Rangers because obviously Chuck Norris's magnum opus, Lone Wolf McQuade, he's a Texas Ranger, right? Yeah. And here you definitely go, man, Nick Nolte's just awesome in it. I think that it wasn't like, oh, you're a bad dude, I'm all pissy, gonna act like a butthurt teenage boy and this and that. These are men doing what manly things, dealing with it in a man sort of way, and that's simple. There's no real goofy ass shit going on with it, and it's a Western. So what that means is every character, no matter what their role is, they're kind of standing up for themselves. And even the African American kid who was the van, intelligence kind of ops guy in there.
Yeah.
I believe if I recall, he was the guy that made all the weird sounds or something. Or no, he played a swishy guy in an earlier '80s movie, and he was around. But so this is like a straight role for him.
That actor is from Revenge of the Nerds.
That's it, Revenge of the Nerds. That's right. That's what I'm thinking of. But even him at the end, he's getting into it with Michael Ironside. And you're like, you're going toe to toe with Ironside, sweating your ass off in here, and it works. Everybody's their own man, their own complete individual, and that's awesome.
It's Texas, and then they go into Mexico. It's going to be hot, so it makes them sweating. They're crafted. There's probably the bus they're on or rooms have no air conditioning whatsoever. So I love that. Yeah, and so and you talk about men being manly. When they're down in basically Mexico, and how Paris Boothe, he's like Nick Nolte, just like he's the way he talks to the woman who talks to Rita, he taking her shit either.
No, like, neither of them are.
And neither. I love it's like it's like she's like, oh, I love it's like he's like, fuck you, bitch. He's like, we're gonna do this mano mano. We're gonna basically do respectable pistol duel, and then. Because
they're gonna have it. You're like, what the fuck? But that's cool. It works.
Yeah, you're gonna have it, and then it gets interrupted by the gunfight stuff. Everything breaks out. All Nick Nolte's basically, or not Nick Nolte, with the Marines or soldiers, they all get killed for the most part. They're all just laying there. And I gotta say, there's a one guy in there who I kept thinking, for those who watch EW, he kind of looked like Ethan Page. He's the pretty boy, the one who gets locked up in the jail. He was the one that got the car stuck, but if you ever watch it,
I think he was the guy in The Last American Virgin that with the surprise ending when she gets knocked up by the dude, has an abortion, goes with the nice guy, and at the last minute dumps the nice guy to go back to. Because I was like, that guy reminds me of it. He was around. I think he's Canadian. He was around in the '80s in some of these films here.
So anyway, so after the whole shit, and then. Eventually, it all leads down to basically they're finally gonna have their pistol duel because because they basically hit Nick Nolte, jumped in the Jeep, took Sergei's girlfriend with her, and they fled. They get there, they're just about to get away, and then they run into basically Powers Boothe, and so basically he's like, well, we're gonna still have this duel, this pistol duel, and he's like. And of course, he's like, no, fuck it. He's like, Sarita, you're gonna count, woman. And he's like, and I love, Nick Nolte do not take his eyes off, but he's like, count, bitch, pretty much. He's like, and she's like, I can't. You both are crazy. And I'm like, discount.
Shut up. Men are doing what they do. Let us do it because we're gonna do it anyway.
Like, yeah, yeah. It's like you can tell that Nick Nolte's character actually cares for her in his own way. Like, it's just that she's just. I
Don't tell me how to care for you, woman. I'll care for you the way I want to.
It kind of reminds you of Lone Wolf McQuaid, the woman he was dating, and he's like, she just wouldn't leave him alone. It's just like, hey, I got a job to do. But anyway, so yeah, they have their and Nick Nolte gets off the first shot, wounds him in the shoulder, and he tells him, dude, we can walk away. I can still bring you in. I don't want to kill you. He's like, no, even though we're far gone, we were friends. I'm not gonna get. And Power spits. He's like, no, screw this, and he just empties his little clip into him, and he falls over, and he lays there. And then, of course, because the group, his goons are around there. Lupo, who's his second hand in command, he says like, it's like, yeah, here, and like, he's like, I love it. Nick Nolte still, he's like not looking at it. He's like, tell him, it's all in the air. We can all walk away from this shit. He's like, tell her. He's like, he's yelling at her to translate. She's still shocked. She translates. And just yeah. So then they end up again. He's like, then Lupo is he's like, how about we make it do a favor? He's like, fuck that. I did you a favor. Now you can wear the white costume. He looks down. He's like, fine, you can leave. Because so they basically he's like, no more following gringos anymore. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. It's like he leaves to Sarita, and that's kind of how it ends. But I mean, just thinking like the whole entire time, I kept thinking like, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin, man. Pretty much, Nick Nolte's personality doesn't give a shit. He does what he wants, gets in your face, but he's all respectable for two women. It's like it's just funny how much the personalities were the same. It's just like, I wonder if there's any influence a little bit in his personality for Stone Cold, but yeah, like I said, he was a badass. Everyone, all the guys were men. There was no sissies. There was no stuff. There wasn't this. The only ones that were kind of dopey were the other cops. It was Rip Torn and like Nick Nolte were the badass cops. The other ones are kind of like incompetent, and I loved how he just yelled at them.
Well, I think the thing of it is whatever you're going to be as an individual, be that person and be consistent with that character. And we've talked about this a lot before, that it's hard to get behind somebody if we don't like their character. I've been watching the Monarch TV shows with Kurt Russell, because it's Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt, and they do a good job of transitioning between the two different timelines with how Monarch got started when Russell was a young boy played by his son, and now being older with some people, and so it's kind of like a Scooby-Doo mystery. It's very low on the mood right now, which is fine.
Mystery.
Well, because the thing is there's a super hot Asian chick, and she seems smart, she seems intelligent, she's got an air about her, but she's just kind of whiny and unlikable. And then, of course, there's another woman involved that just, it's like, pretty. She's not bad. She's an expert in like cryptography and everything else there too, and so she plays a central role. And then a guy that's kind of like just sort of there is like, I don't like any of you guys.
Wait, is there a guy that makes traps? His expert is just making traps and wears an astronaut?
No, I'm just saying it's one of those things where you're like, be who you are, but be likable, or give us some characteristic about you that we can relate to. Because if you're always crabbing and bitching and acting like a young teenager, we're not going to be interested in you or what you're trying to show us. Here, even though we know Powers Boothe's a bad guy, he's so good at it, and he's not a complete jerk off. You understand where he's coming from, and they spend a line talking about their childhood and everything else there too. So it makes sense.
Yes,
you still want to see him get whacked.
And
he's the good guy.
The woman in here who plays
Maria Conchita Alonso.
Yeah, she's actually was a singer. So I did not know that. So I looked at after I watched the movie. I was like, oh, that's why she was singing in the bar and stuff. No, she did some Broadway stuff. I guess back in 1995, I was reading up on World of Honor. She was the first actress or Spanish person to basically go on Broadway or something like that. But anyway, Larry B. Scott is the guy you were trying to think of before. The guy who's from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep.
Yeah, but Clancy Brown steals the whole entire movie for this. The Nick Nolte, Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
I like Michael Ironside. Like Clancy Brown is just like doesn't take shit. You know, he got the other big old black guy who's with him too. The other character.
I did not recognize him as being
No,
in
no.
anything. The muscle.
The muscle. It's Dan Tillis Jr. plays Luther. I'm not sure what else he's also in, but Mickey, the guy who played Chubb, is Mickey Jones. You see him on everything. He was a TV show actor. He was popping everything. He's always the biker guy, the heaviest, the thug. So yeah, so seeing him in there, and then William Forsythe was really cool. He's a dick in this movie, but I liked him. Towards the end, he showed that he actually was respectful.
And Tiny was in here.
Yeah, Tiny.
Well, he was old. He was the muscle with the gun in the back.
Yeah,
that was one of his earlier films. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like I said, I like Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown has gone on and and basically made a career at just doing voice acting, but he's also he's got an on-screen presence since Highlander, man. It's
intimidating.
He's intimidating. It is. I said I never understood why they cast him as the live action Lex Luthor. He's intimidating. He did the voice. He has the voice. He's commanding. Anytime this is also the same guy. He's Mr. Krabs.
I don't know who that is.
SpongeBob. He's the
really?
the guy, yeah, he got
Krabs.
He's either I buy, but I used to know. I my nieces have, and I watch clips of it. He's Mr. Krabs. He runs the Krabby Patty. Oh, SpongeBob, make the Krabby Patties. It's the hell. It's Clancy Brown. As it always killed me when I heard dude from Highlander is it's on SpongeBob. Sweet. But I was looking this up. Nick Nolte, he's 83 years old?
He's up there.
He is up there. I think Milo Ironside is in his 70s.
Yep. He's been around a long time too.
Yeah, too. And Clancy Brown is only 64.
Yeah.
Let
me ask you this.
He's so freaking young compared to Nick Nolte. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Did you know that Red Heat is a Walter Hill film? We've covered that too, I believe.
Next, you're gonna tell me. Do you know that Independence Day was a Walter Hill
film? Did you know Bullet to the Head was a Walter Hill film?
Was that really? See, I thought he stopped making movies. I didn't realize. Now, now look up the assignment or reassignment, whatever it was. The last, was that Walter Hill too?
Yes, it was.
Wow. I never pay attention who's directing or in that stuff, really. My thing is that does the trailer look good? Who are the actors? Is it gonna and then I go to watch it to see if it passed the Meg test.
Well, one of the things about this film, I'll kind of start closing up with this, is that it's an excellent film. I really enjoyed it a lot. It's rare that you get these kind of films. We like a lot of the dopey action stuff out of the 80s, but that's part of a product of the 80s, and we've covered that extensively with whether it's Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and all those films that we've done, and more to come. But when you see something like this that's really a Western, it's really about a guy kind of standing up for himself, being his own man. Those movies are so few and far between now that they really started dying off, and it was a breath of fresh air, as they say, seeing something like this, because it stood out to me. And Westerns generally were definitely on the decline going into the 80s, and it's like a lot of old classic Westerns, and it's a simple formula. But here's the thing. It works. Simple doesn't mean easy, doesn't mean hard or difficult, but you got to own it. And we see a lot in modern film today. We talk about how people, put together a situation that could be good, but then it doesn't work. And I'll give you this, because I watched it recently. Bill Burr directed, I don't know if it's his first movie, but it's called Old Dads, where he's, trying to deal with, stuff that happens in today's society, with his business being taken over, his kid going to private school,
and all stuff, and
he totally shits the bed in the third act too, despite being at strip clubs and everything else there too. And I thought, Bill Burr, I know you're a comedian, and hey, go chase the dollar, whatever you want to do. But you really played it safe here, and it doesn't work, and it could have, because you felt like, oh, this is a guy that really could do it when you see some of the first few jokes, and it's a letdown. And having something like this Walter Hill film to watch is just very refreshing. It reminds you that no, you are not crazy. There are really good, masculine films out there, and by that I don't mean anti-woman. I just mean true to your form. I mean that's what America's all about. It's about that self-reliance, individuality, which you do not get really anymore in film. And it was refreshing to see a bunch of group of competent people do what they do, whether they're good guys, bad guys, or whatever, and just watch it come to a slow boil. A lot of fun. This movie's much better than what I remembered.
Yes, I kind of want to watch Southern Comfort again.
It's one of those things where you go like, man, I want to get into that because it's a vibe that you feel watching
like I said, this is like I want to watch Southern Comfort, but I also want to watch Lone Wolf McQuade.
Yeah,
it's a kind of similar movie. At least the Lone Wolf McQuade is kind of similar to this, but yeah, I said I just John, what's his name? John's Power Booth, yeah, Powers Booth, yeah.
Powers Booth,
yeah. I don't know why I want to say put John in front of it because Powers is not really a first name, but I guess it is. Just seeing his exchange when he first meet him in this movie, I thought was really awesome between him and Nick Nolte. And then he's kind of like cool, calm, collect. Nick Nolte's just like he's
gonna burst. I mean, you see him holding and everything. It's incredible.
And it's just like just kind of like he want to because they're across the border. He's like before they even see him before he gets a chance to talk to him, Rip Torn's in the back. He's got the shotgun. He's like, well, I don't like this. He's like, I don't like this. I can't hit you. He's like, all I got to do is aim 8 feet up, and it'll hit him.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the type of thing somebody would say to somebody else here. And now it's you don't even think about it because everybody on TV today, if they're 8 years old or something like that, everybody knows how to hold a gun. Everyone exaggerates their finger off the trigger and movement, and everybody goes to shooting school, and it's supposed to translate on the film today like they know what the fuck they're doing, and it doesn't because they don't own it.
Nick Nolte is like because when what's the name? Mike composes the D, he's like, and just like fuck the CIA, fuck the FBI, they don't do shit. I can't. It's like they don't give a shit. Don't give a shit about us. They're not the ones out here on the border and all that stuff. Dealing all this crap in there. They want us to play nice with countries that are that are be polite to them. The ones that are giving us all the legal shit.
Well, most of this is from John Milius, who was Conan and all that too. So he's got a certain tone to his films or stories that he's involved with writing, and it definitely comes through here. But it's a great matchup of both these guys there too. Must watch.
Yes. Like I said, this is probably my top 10 for 80s action films.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. Powers, powerful. Yes, it is. What more to say about this? If you haven't watched it, go check it out, man. This is a movie I'm probably looking to see if it's on Blu-ray anywhere.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Anything you need to plug tonight?
Just normal, every Tuesday night. After you've watched us on here, go check me over on Geeky Puppet Show. I talk about some comic books coming out this week. So,
Roger that, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Walter Hill's great film here, Extreme Prejudice. Great friggin' title. This is a meaty film, definitely worth watching there, especially if you like westerns and all that. It works on so many levels. It's tremendous too. Curious to see what we're going to come up with here during the Christmas season. But damn it, this one popped up right after Sharky's Machine. It's like we got to do this one. It's on the short list.
Yeah, I just got to say one more thing. Good night now.
Good night now. Ed Bird's disagreeing with you. All right. See you guys later. Have a good night. Stay extreme.